Does the word retire need to be retired? From baby boomers to millennials, worldviews have changed, technology and society have moved forward. Retirement simply means different things to different people. From Mai Tais by the pool to location agnostic living, our views of retirement are more personal and for many revolve around a different word: freedom. So do you want to retire by the time you hit 30, and are you in your 20s right now? If that is you, then this video is going to scrutinize the numbers that you need to pay attention to in order to make that a reality. And I want to explore some of the lessons that these numbers might actually throw up. Now, before we get started, I think it's important for us to acknowledge that retirement means different things to different people. Back in the day, retirement used to be literally retiring from work, no longer going to your 9 to 5 and basically spending your time doing whatever it is that you would do when you retire. Now in today's society, I believe that retirement and the idea of early retirement centers more around the choice, the ability to have freedom of choice. But what do the numbers actually say, and what are the lessons that we're going to learn from this video? Now, there are a couple of key phases if your goal is to retire at age 30. This is phase 1. So if you are in your 20s and you want to retire by the time you are 30, it goes without saying that you need to have a plan on how you're going to get there. So if you will, you need to have a sat nav of how you're going to go from point A, where you are right now, to point B, and you need to have a plan on getting there. In the context of this conversation, you need to understand what your retirement or your freedom number is. And that is essentially a lump sum of money that is going to be invested in order to generate the income that you would need to live on. There is a mathematical equation for that. I will share that with you in a moment. But before we do that, I actually did a bit of research to find out how much you need to earn in the UK in order to live a comfortable lifestyle. So if you are a single person with 0 children, so no children, then you need to be earning around about £20,838 in order to live comfortably. Now, there is a caveat. There is no definition of what comfortable living is deemed to be in the context of this conversation and these numbers. We don't know whether comfortable living is having 2 or 3 holidays and being able to drive a nice car. We don't know whether it's having 0 holidays and being able to drive an okay-ish car or having to take the bus. If you're a couple with no children, that number goes up slightly to 27,340. Now we get into the numbers if you have children. Now, if you are a single person with 1 child, aged around about 1 or under, and these numbers get lower, smaller, as your children get older. But if you are a single person with 1 child aged around about 1, then you are going to need £44,714. If you are a couple, then you will need £49,714 to live comfortably. Kids are expensive, but they are a joy. But that's just the trade-off that you have. So big numbers there, almost 50K if you are a couple. Now, I wanted to highlight those numbers because, again, we're talking about comfortable living, and nobody wants to retire early and have to sacrifice their standard of living. That should be a time for you to be able to do the things that you want to do, to enjoy the life that you are living without having to be concerned about not being able to keep up that same level of life that you've had and enjoyed, having to make sacrifices. So those numbers are important. The reason why I bring that up is when you look at those numbers in context to the average UK wage, which is £25,780, you can start to see that these numbers start to diverge. So if you're single with no children, you're completely fine because you only need to earn £20,838 according to the numbers. If you're a couple, you're a little bit behind because you need to earn 27,340. You are going to be a long way behind if you are a couple or you're single with children. Now, with that said, you need to know what your retirement number or your freedom number is, that pot of money that is going to generate you an income. So let's just assume that you are earning the average wage of 25,780 and you wanted to have that amount of money coming in for you when you retire at age 30, then the mathematical equation is this. You would times your salary by 25. So in the context of this, 25,780 times 25, that will get you to £644,500. So you would need to have £644,500 saved up in an investment pot to generate £25,780 per year in income for you using the 4% rule, which is the safe level of withdrawal. This brings us to step number 2 in this equation. So now we know what your freedom number is. We know that it is £644,500. Now you need to hatch a plan to be able to amass that kind of money over the next 10 years if you are 20 working towards retiring at age 30. Quite a tall order, but this is what the numbers essentially look like. Now, the key here is you're going to have to save pretty much everything that you pretty much earn. You're going to have to be really, really, really frugal. This may not be appealing to many people. To many people, this is completely unacceptable, unsustainable, unrealistic, whatever word you actually want to use towards it. But the reality is that you would need to save as much as possible. But this is where the numbers don't start to stack up. Because even if you were to save 70% of what you earn, which in the context of 25,780 is around about £18,046 per year, it is only going to give you around about £7,000, just over £7,000 to live off, which if you're living in London means that you're probably going to be living at home with your parents or in a shed somewhere. And anywhere else in the UK, pretty much exactly the same. £7,000 a year to live on is absolutely nothing. It is completely and utterly unrealistic for many people. But the numbers actually don't stack up, even if you are saving that much of your earnings. So £18,046 per year. That equates to about £1,503 per month. And even if you invested that into the stock market at an average return of 8% per year, that is only going to get you to around about £22,085 over a 10-year period. That is a long, long way away from the £644,500 that you need. Now, I know that that is depressing, and that may, for many people, mean, well, actually, this is ridiculous, Pete. How am I going to actually be able to do this? And this is really where the lessons around this conversation really come in. The number that you would actually have to invest every single month in order to be able to get to £644,500 is more like £3,500, £3,580, and an average return of 8% over 10 years. That will get you to that number or just over that number. But for many people, they don't have £3,580 to invest on a monthly basis. You would have to be a pretty high earner. And this is where the lessons in this conversation come to the front. So the first lesson for me, looking at all of these numbers, is not necessarily that it's completely and utterly unrealistic, because there will be people out there who have managed to do this. I will argue that many of those people who may have managed to do this have been able to have capital, cash, money to invest to actually make that happen. It will be very, very rare, very, very rare, in my opinion, that someone who is working a 9-to-5 job will be able to make this happen if they're not an extremely high earner. But there are more practical challenges at hand. First and foremost, you probably want to start this plan by the time you're 20, really, to give yourself the 10-year time horizon. If you can start this when you're 18, that's even better. But how many 18-year-olds or how many 20-year-olds are actually in the position to be able to look at this properly and set a plan for this properly? Because capital is absolutely key. If you're just coming out of university, you're probably still just trying to find your feet. You're still trying to decide what it is that you want to do, the thing that you want to commit your life to. Many people these days are focused on doing the thing that makes them feel fulfilled and makes them feel happy. And in my opinion, that is what should be focused on more so than the idea of retiring early. Finding something that you truly want to do in life. And for me, speaking from my own personal experience, I believe that many people who are obsessed about retiring early are more obsessed about it because they don't enjoy what they do on a 9 to 5 basis. If you enjoy what you do on a 9 to 5 basis, it doesn't feel like a job. And I know that that is a luxury that many people may not necessarily have the privilege of enjoying, but it is an important factor to consider. And whilst you're in your 20s, you have the time, you have the ability to experiment, to explore, to find out what it is that you want to do that is going to give you the fulfillment in your life so that work doesn't feel like work. You're essentially doing something that you absolutely enjoy. And the second lesson that kind of ties into this is that if you are in your 20s, you should understand that income is absolutely crucial. Whilst you're young, you should be focusing on generating as much income as possible. It's all about accumulating wealth. And the same could be said for assets as well. In order to acquire assets, you need income to be able to allocate to that. And whilst you're young, if you are lucky enough to get into a role where you're earning over and above the national average, if you're able to earn 30, 40, 50,000 pounds, and this is possible if you are in a city, any of the major cities, it may be competitive, but if you're able to actually do that, it only means that your income trajectory, how much you can earn over your career, is going to increase. But it is very, very unlikely that you're going to go to a job that is going to pay you less. So income is absolutely key. But whilst you're earning this income, you cannot and should not neglect the fact that control of your expenses is absolutely crucial. I know people who are earning 6 figures who are absolutely broke, who have nothing to show for it because they spend everything that they earn. They have huge debts and they just are not efficient with generating or managing their income. And that is a really, really key factor. A friend of mine once said to me, "How many millionaires are you wearing?" And he said this to me in a period of time when I was doing very, very well. And I was spending £1,000 on a pair of Giuseppe trainers. And that really was a moment of pivotal change for me because in reality, I was more concerned about lining the pockets of brands of millionaires as opposed to feathering my own nest. I did not have any effective money management skills, controlling what I had going out of my account. I had good money coming in, but I was pretty much spending every single penny. And when we talk about acquiring assets, that's what you should be focusing on. Generating high income, acquiring assets over time. Those are some key lessons for me. The other thing that you cannot begin to underestimate is the impact of life events. If you want to retire by the time you are 30, just be mindful that life events are going to happen because you are so young and your outlook on life may actually change. If you haven't got on the property ladder, then that financial burden is going to be life-changing for you because you're going to have to come up with a deposit. You're also going to need to be able to pay the mortgage as well. Now, many people may argue that you may be able to fit that into the amount of money that you have to generate from your freedom amount, that's £644,500, generating 25,780. But what happens when you start to have kids and you start to think about doing different things? Your income requirement will change as life events tend to happen. And at 30, you're going to be on the cusp of some very, very big life decisions and aspirations of things that you actually want to do. And this is one thing that we did learn from data when I was working for a pension provider. We know that when people initially retire, the level of income that they draw from their retirement fund or their freedom fund is a lot higher. The further you are into retirement, that number will then come down and will increase in moments where life events tend to happen, or if you're older, when you essentially need perhaps care home fees or palliative care. Those kind of life events can hugely impact the amount of income that you essentially need. There is so much that we could talk about here and so many angles that we could go down. I want to keep this video relatively brief, but I just want to know from you guys, do you want to retire at the age of 30? Is this really something that is appealing to you? Or is it more of the ability to have the freedom of choice in what you do that appeals most to you? I firmly believe that the shape of retirement is changing and will continue to change as we move forward. We haven't even spoken about, the pressures that life expectancy and the fact that people are living much, much longer has on your freedom number. And we haven't actually really delved deep into the impact of market volatility. 4% safe withdrawal limit, if you're making 8% on average per year, should give you enough fat. But what happens when you need to generate more income? When you need to take more income because of life events, what happens and how do you counteract market crashes, market fluctuations? These are all considerations that we don't have time to cover in this video. But let us know in the comments below. If you are someone who has retired at age 30, please share below. How did you do it? How did you find it? What did you do? Because I'm sure the people that peruse the comment section will be interested to know. I would absolutely love to know. So guys, there it is. If you've not listened to the podcast already, there it is right there. Make sure you go check it out. I will catch you tomorrow on Wednesday for a live session in the evening, probably about 8:30, 9 o'clock, and I will see you in the video on Friday.